Good morning.
What did you think when you heard what John McDonnell had said?
Well, I was quite shocked for two reasons. One is it's not party policy to accept a second Scottish independence referendum. And secondly, the last time I looked at the unwritten constitution of the United Kingdom, we didn't have an English parliament. So a rather strange thing for John McDonnell to say. I'm not sure if he was trying to sell a few more tickets for his fringe show that he's doing this evening, or whether or not he misspoke, but we're yet to hear any clarity, and I think the fact we've not had any clarity coming from John McDonnell or Jeremy Corbyn's office yet maybe tells you all you need to know.
What the party has said, or at least Scottish Labour has said, is that he wasn't advocating a second referendum. He was saying it wouldn't be blocked, but he wasn't advocating it.
The difficulty is that the clear position of the Scottish Labour Party and in the UK manifesto, as you said at the start of this piece, is that we would not accept a second Scottish independence referendum. It's bad for the Scottish economy, and I think we just have to look at what's happening with Brexit to see the kind of devastation it could wreak on civil society and the economy of Scotland. So that's the first thing we have to put on the table. But the second thing is that I'm not quite sure why he's even coming to Scotland to make these kinds of remarks. Every single time that a member of the Labour front bench crosses the border, they seem to either get confused about the constitutional arrangements in Scotland, or they forget about what the party position is. So it'd be useful to get some clarity from John McDonnell today on what he actually meant, because the policy of the Labour Party is pretty clear. We will not accept a second Scottish independence referendum. We want to get on with getting a Scottish Parliament that uses the powers that it's got to transform the lives of people in Scotland, and not to continually going on about constitutional upheaval.
But do you think he said what he did because there is a deal to be done with the SNP at Westminster?
Well, there's not a deal to be done. This is simple parliamentary mathematics. The current parliamentary mathematics of Parliament is that if we wanted to have a no-confidence vote against the Prime Minister, that has to go in the name of the leader or the opposition, and all other opposition parties would have to decide if they wanted to support that. I think the SNP would support that, and if it was successful with the help of backbench Conservative MPs, then that would be carried. If it's after a general election, it's not needed, it's not required, because you'd be in a position, even with a minority Labour government, that if the SNP didn't want to support that, it would be bringing down a Labour government to usher in another Conservative government. And I'm sure they wouldn't want to be doing that either, like they did back in 1979 when they got in 18 years of Conservative government.
But let's imagine that in the wake of a general election that Labour is in a minority position and that it will need support in order to form a government, whatever kind of, even informal arrangement that might be, something similar to what the DUP have had with the Conservatives. There would have to be some kind of an understanding, wouldn't there, on the SNP's part for them to give a minority Labour administration that support. And this might be the price of that.
Well, you would essentially be saying to a minority Labour government that you would require the SNP to either sit on their hands or not participate in voting against the Labour government. Now, that would be a decision for them to make, but I would find it extraordinary if the SNP decided to repeat history and vote down a Labour government in order to bring in a new Conservative government, particularly in the light of what's happening at the moment in the country. And therefore, I don't see how you would need any formal or informal pact at all, because the SNP would just have to make that decision. If they wanted to vote against a Queen's speech from the Labour Party, or indeed a budget from the Labour Party, they'd be bringing it down, and then they would have the consequences of that.
Okay, so, but for a minority Labour administration to govern, to actually do the things it wants to do rather than just not be voted down, it would need the support of other parties, wouldn't it?
Well, it certainly would, but you would do that on an issue-by-issue basis. You would have some issues that you'd have to compromise on with perhaps a larger Liberal Democrat group. You'd have some issues where you might be able to get the Green MP to support if the numbers were very tight indeed. We're down to a parliament with a majority of one at the moment, so anybody who can give a hand to the government at this stage in those particular mathematics are helpful.
Okay, you're against a no-deal Brexit. Are you also in favour of another say on our EU membership?
Well, I think there should be a vote of the public. I think 3 years on, given what was promised in 2016 and has not been transpired, I think we have to get to a situation where the public are let back into that process.
And why shouldn't the Scottish public also have another say on independence, especially given how much circumstances have changed since the last one?
My position is perfectly consistent. The fire that fuels the nationalist grievance for another Scottish independence referendum is indeed Brexit, and therefore stopping Brexit or having the softest possible Brexit reduces that fuel on the fire of Scottish independence. And indeed, I'm against anything that harms the country's economy and harms the jobs and livelihoods of my constituents, and that means a soft or no Brexit and no independence. So these are very, very principled stances, and the means of which you get to those principled stances are completely compatible.
Ian Murray, thank you.